Hey, everybody, welcome back. And guess what? Home buyers, well, they're putting less money down. And the question is why? And is this something that is more sinister that is on the forefront, or, well, is it situation normal? Let's get into it. Hang on. Okay, so many of you might remember when I said, listen, as we come in and out of markets, first-time home buyers really kind of set the tone of, hey, when we come into a good market, the first-time home buyers come in, they go from about 28% to about 38, 43% of the market share. Then as that starts to transition, move up buyers, luxury buyers start to take the dominant role, pushing the first-time home buyers back down into the 28% of the market share. Then as we are exiting a market, we see that transition again, where the luxury and move-up buyers start to take a back seat and first-time home buyers become that dominant role. And so it kind of does that wave. That's very much what we're looking at right now, which is, again, situation normal. The good news is, as we take a look at the whys, it helps us to understand where we're at in the market. So let's pull this up first. So Business Wire, I think they did a great article. Part of this is based on some of the Redfin metrics. It's nice to be able to have a lot of good head sheds to look at, compare our notes, see what they're seeing where, hey, are we seeing the same thing? Are we seeing the same trends? And in this report, we very much are, because when we take a look at the cost of housing, which is still on a upward trajectory, I'd say more flat-ish, up-ish. If you're on a treadmill running around, you're about 1% or 0.5% versus the other way where we're going downhill. That we are not. We're, kind of flat-ish, up-ish type of direction. Now, as we take a look at that, and as we see the pendants even continue up, and we'll see those metrics here shortly, we take a look at this. VA loans and FHA loans are taking more of a dominant role. And that is situation normal, as homes that are being purchased don't require, we're not seeing as many multiple offers. So we're not seeing all of the conventional loans, 15 to 20%. We're seeing part of that start to pull back, where some of the pricing is able to hit where they can get better ratios and things like that, which allows a lot of those first-time home buyers, even some lower move-up buyers, to be able to acquire financing without all of the requirements. Now, the takeaway is FHA loans are also the highest number of defaults that we've been seeing nationwide, I would say probably in the last 8 months. I'm not saying people getting FHA financing today is bad. All I'm saying is they also happen to be the highest default. So when we dive back into this, conventional loans are still the most dominant by 77.5%. Now, get a load of this. When we take a look at it, 31% of home purchases are still being done with cash. And with that, naturally, that became a really dominant character when we started seeing interest rates, in the mid 7s, almost 8%. They actually came back in and said, hey, you know what? It's cheaper for me to pay cash than it is to try and get financing. We're still seeing a number of, as you saw, 31% of home purchases still being done with cash. Okay, that's pretty much situation normal. That increases as interest rates go up, decreases as interest rates come down. And we've had a number of people saying, George, are we going to see 4% rates again? No. I don't see that happening unless the feds start buying mortgage-backed securities like they did in 2020, which artificially brought everything down. There's a different chart that I'll show next time showing the number of people that actually have a sub 4% mortgage rate, which is a staggering number. And we call that the golden handcuffs because people aren't willing to give that up. All right, fair enough. Now, as we roll into and we start taking a look at our headlines, Housing starts basically slide in May, but single family holds steady. That is 100% accurate as we're seeing situation normal. Some of the builders pulling back. And again, that's not any great news because that's been going on for most of the last 18 months. As we've been seeing the cost of construction and everything else going up, seeing some of that income start to slow a little bit, we see some of that pull back. Not a big deal. Situation normal. Now, as we come in and we take a look at some of our headlines, we have home builder sentiment just got a bit gloomier. That kind of coincides with what's up above. Mortgage applications slipped just a little bit. Again, with some of the volatility that has been happening with mortgages, albeit in the upper right-hand corner, you can see that we've actually been dropping down in actual mortgage rates. And that's been happening in a very positive direction, which is absolutely awesome. Now, if you're saying, oh my gosh, George, is our market tanking? Are we having problems in the market? Are we going to be heading, in a 2008 spiral dance and chasing the market downward? No, I don't see that happening at all. We still, even though we have a greater inventory rate, which is absolutely helping buyers, bringing that arrow, if this is to the sellers and this is to the buyers, we are definitely, I think, dead nut center where it is very much balanced. And you might say, okay, George, how do you come up with that? Well, let's take a look at this. So when we take a look at the actual inventory, when we take a look at what's available on market, what's going on, we take a look at how many days on market. You can see in the middle chart there, we're about 4 days more than we were at last year, which is not a significant amount. That, however, is, you know what? We're still selling at 99% of list price. Why is that important? Because when we come over and we take a look at the number of homes that are available, okay, we can see that the homes that came on market, 1,342, well, look at that. We had 1,140 that went pending. Now, that's still a good balance. Now, absolutely agree. Before, let's go March and going back to almost a year and a half, there were always more pending than sold. Okay. When interest rates were going up, we started seeing some volatility in the market itself. And as far as with the administration, we saw people starting to pull back, started to buy at a lower price point, which then is part of why we've seen some adjustment. But get a load of this. When we rock forward and we actually take a look at the amount of inventory that is available on a national level, look, middle of the chart there, you can see 2025, we're below where we were at pre-pandemic levels for our area and whatnot. And it is a little bit on the national side, albeit they've been bumping up. Now, when we take it to this chart, when we take a look at what has been coming on market, what's going on off market, look at this. Yes, we have the more inventory like we've been discussing, and our pendants both in the same month over month. Actually, let me blow this up for you. Month over month, and then year over year, the top chart there, we are up 1.5% on solds, 2.7 on pendant. Month over month, we're up about 3.1%, and on pendant, we're up almost 15%. Now, here's the thing, and what's super important to understand is this. We may not be going absolutely skyrocketing high, but we are definitely not coming down. We are more flat. We're more lateral, just a small increase. But in the pricing, which is the next chart, let's take a look at this. Now, when we take a look at pricing is super interesting because even though month over month, we are down about 8,000 from where we were at last week as an average sold price, but we're 1.3% higher, okay, which is not much, but it's still a full, a upward trend, but definitely I would consider more flat, but we're still heading in a positive direction. We are not coming down. And the fact that we just keep inching up little by little does not help affordability except for when rates come down. Now, what is the magic pill for taking our market from kind of flat to going crazy? Interest rates. Now, that can have the absolute same impact if our market will go down if interest rates were to shoot back up to like close to 8%. That would bring everything to a screeching halt. However, here's the funny thing. Even though the feds do not control long-term mortgage rates, okay, they do affect them. And the good news is the feds met on Wednesday. Their dot plot map really didn't change a whole lot, and that's the prediction. It's a little dot, literally dots. They put it on a calendar and say, here's where we see rates this year, next year, and the following year. And it's called the dot plot map. Look it up. Here's the thing. We actually stayed, just true to the course. Didn't adjust much at all. We expected maybe just a bobble in the upward direction if the feds made some derogatory remarks about the market, but they didn't. So everything stayed pretty flat, pretty much boring. However, rates did then continue to come down. And we can see that when we take a look at the Freddie. I'm going to back up here in 2 slides. Hang on. There we go. When we take a look at the Freddie map here, we can see that we've been heading in a downward trend. That is super important to understand because we actually expected part of the Fed rate to go up, and fortunately it did not. Now, how does that compare to when we take a look at the actual new construction? Because a lot of folks are saying, okay, new construction is a great indicator of what's going to happen. I disagree with that. Our existing construction, or resales have a bigger impact. It is good to watch the metrics as to new construction, what's going on versus resales, because the two are in direct conflict with each other. Here's the thing. As we kind of pop through and we take a look at that, I'm going to glance forward. Hang on, one more slide. There we go. All right, let's pop this open. Okay, new construction. You can see that our pended sales actually are up 12%. And that is super important. And when we take a look at it year over year, you're like, George, man, that's down like 16.5%. Yes, but last week, they were farther behind. They've been clawing back market share over the last 2 weeks. Technically, they've been making some marketable improvements, offsetting part of what resale homes are doing. Why? Because of the incentives being offered. So when we come back and we take a look at the actual charts here, hang on a second here. Let's blow this up. There we go. When we take a look at our charts, they're down almost 11%, for actual solds year over year, which is roughly about 1,500. Yeah, that's about right. About 1,500 homes is what they're off, okay? And then when we take a look at what's going on as far as the month over month here, you can see, look, okay, we're up 12% as far as pending. That is super awesome. Sales are off still about 6.2%. Not a huge deal because, again, they're just making that transition. But a lot of those sales are based on incentives being offered. As an example, there's a couple of projects out there right now that are offering 4.9% start rate. It's a 2-1 buy down. Next year, it's going to be 5.9. And then it goes to what par pricing is today at about 6.8. But you get that benefit of that buy down for the first 2 years, knowing that your income, hopefully that your income will head in a positive direction. Now, when we take a look at what we have as far as actual price versus time, sales prices from last week are down at about 18,000. Year over year, they're up about 2.8%, or roughly about $26,000. So again, the plats are maintaining their price points. They're still heading in a positive direction. Builders are still giving up a little bit of price point, a little bit of profit point to maintain the plat pricing. Super smart. That's what they do. So new construction is still a great offer, especially as you get towards the end of the month. So keep that in mind. Now, as we roll over and we take a look at REOs. Now, again, super boring. We're going to keep things all in perspective here. We have very little that is out there in the market. When we take a look at some of the month-over-month stats, for the month of June, since hard to believe we just hit our summer solstice. So the longest day of the year was yesterday, and today's a couple of seconds short. Look, we have 9 more homes on market this year than we did last year. 3 more sold, 10 more pended. And as you can see, tiny little numbers equate to big numbers when you actually double them. And so really at the end of the day, there's not much significantly happening in the REO world. Things are still very low as far as actual defaults, actual foreclosures that are coming on, what we call REOs. So if you have any questions, put them down below. Give us your opinion on what you think is going on. Smash that subscribe button. Let us know that you like what you hear. Again, there's no selling here. It's just consistent metrics every single week. In the meantime, have an absolute beautiful day, and I will talk to you on the next video. Take care.